Welcome to the Budapest Psychic with Reverend Maria D'Andrea. I'm your co-host, Mimi. On each episode, we're going to dive deep into the inner workings of our reality, where intuition, energy, and the paranormal converge in one powerful experience, lighting your path to greater achievement and life purpose. Born in Budapest, Hungary, Maria is an experienced professional in the spiritual, psychic, paranormal fields, and an author and public speaker. Maria's classes accommodates each person, whether you're a beginner or an advanced student. Unlock the universe within and travel the waves of time as Maria takes you on a mind-bending exploration of our out-of-body experiences. Before we take that journey with Maria, though, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Isten hozott, or welcome in Hungarian. So we can all time travel. It's just a matter of control. Some of us do that normally. We can have control over it. Okay. And it is something that you can learn to do. By the way, it doesn't take 2 seconds to learn, but it is something that you can learn to do. And that makes a very big difference because I really feel that everybody can. It's just a matter of where you are spiritually and what you're interested in and what you're not interested in. Okay, so basically, we tap into the universe by using our thoughts, our imagination. And what people don't think about is when we're really focused, especially more than one person, when we're really focused on something, eventually it comes to pass. So when you think of cave people as an example, and say they would have seen an airplane, they would have thought, oh, sky god. And a lot of times what happens is we will see things out of body that haven't come to pass yet. So then a lot of us are focused on it way ahead of time. Hopefully some of it shows up in our lifetime. And they've always had sky gods in one form or another. So as an example, we are time masters when we're working out of body. Okay, we literally are considered time masters because when you're out of body, you can go past, present, future. There's absolutely no difference because there's no time on the other side. Time is basically a needed construct so that we can meet each other for now. Thank you for coming to the show. Or to meet each other for lunch, or to meet each other basically for anything else. So we create a time for us. But in the spiritual realms and in different energy realms, there really isn't any time. So as an example, we have time gods. And by the way, when we're talking about time gods, we actually created them through thought patterns of centuries believing in a time god. Eventually, they come to pass. Some time gods have already been in different realms. It's just that people that do go out of body went, oh, wait, we're going to have to give this one a name, or it has a name, and then we tell other people, and then they're more aware. So as an example, there was Tiwaz, which is considered a sky god. That's more Nordic, more along those Iceland, along those levels. And then you have angelic time. There's actually called angels of time. So different cultures have different names, but it is out there, very, very positive. And when you go out of body, you get to meet all sorts of things, good and bad. So I'm always saying, if you're doing anything where you're trying to focus on learning how to go out of body and astral travel, you want to make sure that you always use psychic self-defense first. Because when you go out of body, there are positive entities and there are negative entities. Just like on this planet, we have positive people and negative people. Okay. So if you're using psychic self-defense, you will still see the negative because you have to know what's around you. The difference is it cannot get to you. Okay. Still might be scary, still might not be too bad, depends on the situation. And then, of course, there are positive entities. So we want to be aware of what we're doing. Now, the funny thing is people have a misunderstanding. I was teaching a class a while ago, and we were talking about going out of body, which is what the class was about. And we were getting into a little bit more detail. And this very nice young lady, she said to me, she was a little bit worried because she said, well, you know, we're connected by, for lack of a better word, it's like a beam of white light that looks like an umbilical cord that connects our physical and our spirit bodies. So when we go out of body, we don't actually disconnect. So she said to me, she said, well, what happens if she's out of body and she's on a different planet, and her her cord, they do call it a silver cord, but it's white light. So she says, what if it gets tangled up on a rock and it breaks and she dies? So, well, first of all, if you can go through the wall to go through a different planet situation, I don't think you're going to get caught on anything because everything, I'm always saying energy, vibration, and frequency. So if your spirit body is pure energy, and the cord connecting you is pure energy, and you already went through a wall, it cannot be broken by anything. Okay. So it doesn't make a difference on that level. The reason for the protection isn't so that nothing happens to you that drastically. The reason for the protection is if there's a negative spirit, negative entity, it cannot get to you. When you're traveling, for lack of a better term, when you're traveling out of body, okay, what you can actually expect is you're going to gain knowledge, and people don't think about this, but you're going to have fun most of the time. Sometimes it's scary, but most of the time you're going to have fun. And basically, if you ask for one, sometimes you can get a guide. I've been doing this forever. And the first time that it happened to me, it was a very different experience. So I was in I think I was in my late teens, somewhere around there. And I was doing a lot of work, psychic, occult. Well, now they call it paranormal, but psychic, occult. And occult just means ancient wisdom, hidden knowledge. It isn't positive or negative. It's not religion. That's all it means. So ancient wisdom. So I was doing constant work. And so it's like being on a constant high. And what happened was, all of a sudden, I was just out of body. And it's like being in a big gray room. And what happened was in the front of the room, way, way in the front. Okay, what I saw a procession that looked like monks because they were going from right to left in single file. And you know, when you think of a monk and they have the hooded cloaks, that's exactly what they looked like. Couldn't tell gender. It's just like they were taking their time and they were walking. And I was thinking, okay, let me go closer and see what they look like because some of us are curious. So I got a little bit closer because as soon as you think it, it happens. So I got a little bit closer and I remember feeling a warning that said not to move closer. Now, being who I am, I went, okay, and I went to move closer. So I moved a little closer, still didn't see who they were. I was just a little bit closer and I got a stronger warning. And then I thought, well, they'll just move a little closer. Some of us don't learn. So I went to move a little closer. And what happened immediately was I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was. I had absolutely no clue. And I remember thinking it was a little scary. And I remember thinking, well, if I look down at my physical body, I will see who I am. So I looked down and there was nothing there. And I panicked because I didn't know my gender. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was. And as soon as I panicked, I snapped right out of it. They did not want me to see them because I did get a warning that said, don't come closer. Sometimes if you snap back quickly, say you're consciously going out of body, which I do now, but say you consciously go out of body. And I teach this, and a lot of times I say, make sure you shut off things like the phone, because if the phone rings, not that you're going to answer it, but if it rings, it's going to snap you back, and you might be a little bit out of alignment, your spiritual body with the physical, because you snap back, and then you're going to be confused for a little while. Okay. It's not going to mess you up permanently, but for a little while, it's like you're going to be fuzzy or dizzy. Or you just can't stand up right away because your body has to align. Everybody in their sleep state goes out of body because what happens is your spirit body is not limited to your physical body. Right. So when you're sleeping, sometimes what happens is we're going to go wander because we don't have to sleep. Spirit wise, your spirit does not have to sleep. So it'll go to different destinations. You might have a very, very vivid dream in detail. And the way you can tell when you went as an out of body experience compared to you had a really great dream. See, when you wake up, it'll be so vivid and so detailed that 20 years later, you will remember the exact details, the colors, if there are colors, you will remember everything as if you were physically there. If you have a dream it'll start dissipating through time. So through time, you might say, okay, I remember seeing this person or this building or this planet. And then through time, you're going to go, okay, well, I remember seeing the planet. Then later on, you're not going to remember anything after a while, okay, because it wasn't real. But when it's real, you're going to remember every single little detail. You really have to practice and you have to work on it. It's techniques. That's that's going to help you. So they're techniques. And what happened was I was going out of body. Sometimes I have a destination. Usually I don't because I'm playing. Too many years we play. So I went out of body and I actually have it in one of my books. I went out of body and what I was seeing floating near a planet, I was seeing, it looked like little dome huts. It had a flat surface. It looked like a little dome and it was lit up from the inside. So it looked like light, but you weren't seeing into it. Right. And it's like, I just knew that there were people in there. Now, I didn't know if there were people, but there were some entities in there because it felt to me like they were homes, but they were all floating. And it was really funny because it's like, they're homes. There's no way to describe that. It's like, and you know that there's people living in it. And when I came out of it, I tried to draw a picture of it. Now, the funny part is, I can write. I have a lot of books out. When I tell you I can't draw a stick figure, so it more or less looks like a dome. It's somewhere in my book. It looks a little bit like that, but I couldn't get all the details because I can't draw. You have to know where you're good and where you're not. It's not my thing, but I tried as much as I could. But you know that there are people living in there. And I hung out there for a while. And then I took my time. It felt very positive. There was nothing threatening. It just felt like different inhabitants. And then I just came back. But what happens is when you're dealing on that level, you're dealing with different astral worlds. You're dealing with different time periods because you could see past, present, future. So like I said, there's no time on the other side. So we kind of slip back and forth and we can consciously pick somewhere to go. You can go to a different planet. You can go to the past and see why something happened in your past, or, and that could be positive or negative. You may want to relive something that was really positive. You can't control that. You can't control changing anything with the past, but maybe you'll have a better understanding. Okay. Or we can go to different realms because there's a multiverse. Okay? So we can always choose where to go, not just time-wise, if you have an interest in a particular area. Sometimes I just go, well, wherever it takes me. So I've seen planets and this was funny. And just because I saw it like this doesn't mean somebody else would see it the same way. Okay. But I was looking at a planet and people always say that you're going, when you travel, especially time travel, that you're going through different planets. Okay. Now I didn't have that. What I had was I was standing in one spot. It's kind of like hanging out in midair, for lack of a better term. So I'm standing in one spot and the planets and everything else was moving. So it could just be different people could have a different perception. Okay. But that's how I saw it. And then I saw this one planet at a distance, looks like a little round ball, one planet at a distance. And I saw what looked like a little tiny UFO spaceship because it was at a distance. So I saw a little spaceship just going all over the place around the planet, not around it, just, floating. And then I came out of it. And I was like, oh, come on, I really wanted to see it. Nobody's letting me get close. Sometimes you can, by the way, because you can talk to different beings. Okay. And what happens a lot of times is if you're talking to, say, a light being, they will show themselves to you in a way that you can perceive them. Okay. I was dealing with this one being years and years ago in the future, because you can go past, present, future, because it's time travel. And I was dealing with somebody in the future, and you hear them according to the way you understand them. It doesn't mean it's their language. I am sure they don't speak Hungarian or English. They might, but you pick up the information in a way where it resonates to you understanding it. Right. And the being was telling me it was very tall. It was all pure light. And it was, I'd say, well, if you're in your living room as an example, or whatever room of the house you're in, it would be higher than the ceiling. Very friendly. I had a very calm feeling, and it felt like somebody that would protect you in a situation. It felt like a protector. And I remember hearing, for lack of a better term, mentally hearing that that is not what they look like. Because I saw one, but it felt like at a distance behind that one, there were other ones. And I didn't feel a gender, but I did feel it saying to me, for lack of a better term, that it was pure light and it was on a frequency that we do not have on this planet. The frequency that happened to be, we don't perceive. That's like they say dogs can hear sounds that we can't, so sound or visual, it doesn't connect to us. But it was very nice. It was pleasant. You felt safe. Yeah. And then you come back. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I wanted to stay longer. And sometimes I get psychic information like that. Or if I'm working on the occult, paranormal side, and occult just means ancient wisdom, hidden knowledge, not religion, not negative or positive. It's just information. So now, when I'm working on that, sometimes I get information because I wouldn't know otherwise. So I get some help. Sometimes I ask for it. Sometimes they just kind of pop in and go, this is what you need to say, or this is what you need to do. But basically, when you're out of body, uh, it doesn't feel like you're floating. Every now and then people go, oh, I felt like I was floating. And they might be. Everybody doesn't pick it up the same way. Okay, so nobody's wrong. Whichever way everybody picks up, that's what's right for them. But for me, it's usually like I'm standing still and everything else is moving. They had an experiment, a scientific experiment, years and years and years ago. They had a time that they planned where they asked psychics all over the country uh, if they go out of body, if they would be part of this experiment. So I was not part of it. It was before my time, well, before I had this kind of control. And a lot of people volunteered. So they gave these people a specific house, a specific room to go to, and they gave them a specific day and a time to show up. So everybody was supposed to show up at the same day and time, go out of body and then go back and then write down what they saw, what they felt, any information they had, and send it into the scientists. So this is what happened. By the way, scientists decided that there's no such thing as out of body. Now, you got to laugh. So this is what happened. A lot of people ended up explaining that they saw a fire. Now, a couple of towns away from their destination, there was a gigantic fire. They had fire engines, and it was very horrendous, right? So a lot of people on their way to the destination saw the fire and they went, ooh, and went to the fire, right? Not consciously, it just automatically, wherever your thought goes, that's where you go. So they saw the fire and they went, oh, fire. Now, all these people could explain exactly where the fire was, what it looked like, the people around it, where people were standing. They can explain every little detail. Okay, now, the scientists did not count that because it wasn't the destination they were supposed to go to. But they had all these people saying the exact same thing with the same details, with where people were standing, everything. They could describe it in detail, right? They didn't count that. Then you had some people that showed up the way that they were expected to show up, right? And then you had some people, which I thought was funny. They showed up, and in the living room, they saw a gigantic fireplace. You know, the fireplaces where they have a flat uh, ledge, for lack of a better word, in the front, so you can sit in front of the fire. A lot of people, what they saw was they saw the fireplace. They could describe the room exactly, but they saw a big, gigantic teddy bear right next to where the fire was, sitting on that ledge for, I don't know what it's called. I need to get a fireplace to be able to name it. So, big teddy bear. So a lot of people describe the teddy bear. Okay, so scientists did not count that, even though they could describe the room, because it wasn't exactly the room at that moment. A couple of weeks later, somebody went into that room, and there was the big teddy bear. So the people that popped up there popped up in the future. So they saw the teddy bear before the teddy bear was actually there. They didn't count it. It wasn't exactly at the top. They didn't count the fire either. I know a gentleman that's a scientist, very good friend, but he was always open to this. And one of the things he did was he built a bed and he attached different sounds to it. So he was trying to see if he was sleeping, depending on which angle he hit for different notes while he was sleeping, how it was going to affect him. Still scientific, but he was open to the spiritual aspect. Yeah. So some are. Apparently, they weren't with the father. Because when you're going out of body, you actually have two bodies. You have your spirit body, right? And you have your physical body. We all function from both all the time. Okay, now when we're sleeping, we can go out of body on purpose, not on purpose. Whoosh. And like I said, you can tell when you actually went out of body and you remember it because it's so vivid. Sometimes you'll get that because it's a warning. Okay. One of my students was saying that he woke up, he called me up, and he said he had a very vivid dream, and he was seeing himself down the road. I think he said it felt to him like it was coming soon, that he was going to be in a car accident. It really unnerved him. So he called me up and he told me about it, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I said, well, all that means is you have a warning. With any luck, it's not going to happen. So when you get a warning, it's still preventable. That's the whole point. It's not like the universe going, haha, this is what's happening. So it's a warning. So he was a lot more careful. He was traveling the same way he normally went to work. And because he was a lot more careful, he noticed that there was a little bit of an issue with some cars a couple of blocks in front of him. So he said because he had that experience, he pulled over to the side. He parked next to the curb and he said, you know what? Let me just wait a little bit. At the worst, he's a little bit late by a couple of minutes to his job. It wasn't going to be an issue where he loses the job, right? And he said, sure enough, a couple of minutes later, there was this big pile up, this accident with a lot of cars. It wasn't even like two cars. He would have been part of that if he did not pull over. So once that happened, he went, okay, and he pulled down the other side street and he went to work. He still felt bad about the people, but you can't, first of all, you can't warn anybody, and how are you going to explain that? And those people were driving. It's not like they stopped when he stopped. But sometimes the universe tries to help you through different spirits, angels, entities, different beings. Sometimes you just know psychically because you're tuned in, on the psychic wave. Mentally, when you're getting psychic information, and the scientific community proved this, which I thought was very positive and helpful, that we have 5 brainwaves. So when your brainwave is on alpha and the deeper theta, you're on a psychic level getting psychic information. And we all have that on and off because we've all had where you have an urge to do something or not to do something. But when you're getting it like that, you actually went out of body for the information into the future. So it was a warning. Yeah. So we just need to learn to pay attention sometimes. Okay. And basically, when we do that, we're outside of space and time. There's no time there. Remember, we created time, so that we can meet each other for certain things. But basically, there's no time there. So consciously, you have shaman, right? You have shaman, mystics, magi, sorceresses. You have all different people of different belief systems, okay, that work with this, medicine men, that work with this, that can actually time travel. Okay, so the difference is that we do it consciously, but it's like instant, like your thoughts. So as soon as you think something, it's literally the speed of thought. As soon as you think it, you're there. So when you're dealing with a different place on the other side, you can program yourself before you go for a specific destination, past, present, future. Okay. Or once you're out of body, you can say, okay, well, I think I want to go back this far or forward this far. I normally don't do too much of going back because I've already done it. I'm more interested in different spirits, different entities, because some of us um, have help from different spirit entities when we're doing paranormal work, or if I'm doing a reading, sometimes I will get information from different spirits, different entities, different guides. If I'm looking for somebody that, as an example, passed away, and I have a client that wants to check on somebody that's a relative or friend that passed, sometimes I have to go find them, you know, and then I can get the information. So I actually see the person. So it's a little bit different, but we do have that control. And what we're doing when we're going out of body like that is we are bringing down the barriers of time. Okay, that's really how we look at it. I don't know how other people think of it, but when we actually do this, we're literally bringing down the barriers of time so we can travel past, present, future. Okay, because for lack of a better term, think of it, and this is not how it is, but think of it as one space is your past, the other one is your present, the third one is your future, but they're all interact. So it's not actually like that. There's no separation. And that's why as soon as you think of something, there you are. So hopefully we don't go, oh, I wanted to see the Titanic. No, no. And we're very positive. Now, there are people that would like to check on things that happen that are negative so they can understand it. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying, me personally, you know, I only deal with the positive if I'm out of body, or I will just ask to be put somewhere for information that I need to know. Or honestly, I just go see what happens, but we're literally outside of time and space. That's why we can travel back and forth. Okay. So sometimes I like to call it waves of time because it's like riding the waves of energy. Okay. Remember, everything's um, energy, vibration, and frequency. So it's like picking a stream, an energy stream, for lack of a better word, and you have a destination, you have a little stream that you can ride to take you there. But usually it's instant. It's not exactly the way I'm saying it. You think it, you're there, that's it. But for lack of a better word, I find that's the best explanation for how it works. And then we have what are called time benders. You have to love the terminology. Okay. And basically, some of us were called either time benders or travelers, synonyms, because we can go back and forth. And a lot of times we can do that in our dream state, because people do that in their dream state automatically. The difference is we control it, so it's on purpose. Okay. But like I said, everybody travels. Say I'm going from one place to another out of body. I kind of see it as like a path, or but like more like a wave of white light. And but when I think it, I'm there, but for that split second, I see it, but it's like from here to centuries down the road. We don't have a limit. So we're literally breaking down time barriers to be able to travel on purpose. Even if it's not on purpose, you're still breaking down barriers. We just do it consciously. So we can find out things that help other people. Okay, so say somebody had a very negative issue when they were younger, and they know they had the issue. They don't understand what created it, as an example. So to get over that psychologically, we can find out for them what created the situation, because we can travel back and look at it for them. Okay, that does not mean that they can fix it. It means they will understand it, and that may help them change the situation to be better, or not. What they do with the information, that's a personal thing. Or you can look back and say, oh, that was such a great time in my life. I'd like to relive it. So we can travel back. I tend to travel forward or to different realms. I'm more interested in different realms. But that's just me. I don't need to check my past, been there, done that, don't care. But if there's an issue to fix, then that's something different, because there's a thread. It's actually called a time thread. by us. So there's a time thread that connects, let me put it this way. It goes to and it connects all souls um, and all energy. So we're always connected to everybody. Sometimes I mention this in a class because I think it's important and it's a great way to explain it. But Native American shaman have this way that I love of explaining how we're connected. And the way they look at it as, think of a gigantic, gigantic spider web, right? And each strand of the web is one of us, right? Now, what happens is if one person shakes the web, shakes the strand, it shakes everybody on the web. So we're all connected. So when we're going out of body, we can check past, present, future, because we're just traveling on that web. Okay. Now, we try not to shake it in a negative way. Yeah. So when you're aware of the multiverse and everything else that's going on in the unseen realm, we're a lot more careful about what we think, what we do. I'm always saying only positive, only positive. My students are sick of hearing it, but I'm always going only positive, because there are repercussions. Okay. Some people choose the negative path. You choose the path that you work on and that you walk on permanently. Okay. That does not mean we don't make mistakes, but if I make a mistake, my first thought, because there's power in the word, my first thought is to use the word cancel so I don't create the situation because of the field I'm in. Because we co-create very quickly, right? So doesn't mean we don't have negative thoughts. We just go, uh-oh, no. We don't want to create it. So we react a little bit differently than a lot of other people. And especially a lot of times we look at it as a train. Okay, let's do it this way. So think of a train. Right, you have the train and you have all these little cars behind it. So the way it works is you have your willpower, right? Your willpower, your physical, your psychic, your mental, and your spiritual realms. That's all you, all of it, right? Just the little different cars on the train. So when you're going out of body, you're mentally picking with your willpower, where do you want to go? And then your physical body gets to relax and just be there. Nothing harmful, nothing negative, just very relaxed and comfortable. And you're going to forget you have a physical body because you won't feel it, right? Okay? Because now you're in a different astral form and your spirit body is the one that's reacting. So your physical body is just relaxed and comfortable. And when you come back, okay, if you come back quickly because you saw something scary, okay, you're going to be a little bit out of alignment, right? So you need a little time to shift back. Okay. But when you're controlling going out, you're going to control, okay, I'm done, and you're coming back. Or you'll just come back on your own because there's nothing left to do at that moment. We don't always have an agenda. Remember, when we are traveling the waves of time, we are traveling at the speed of thought. Thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you abundantly.
Don't forget to join us for more fascinating shows with the Budapest Psychic as we bring more stimulating content. Don't forget to stop by for our next show on water elements and mystical beings. Please like, share, and subscribe to get these shows to other like-minded seekers. For anyone looking for further information on Maria's services, including her classes, contact her using any of these methods. We'll see you next time on the Budapest Psychic.